folks, welcome into another edition of That Betting Show right here on SportsbookReview.com, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. It's Friday, June 7th. We got a big action-packed show for you. He's Teddy Safransky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at RightSideVP. Let's get right into it, Teddy. Big pivotal game for in the Bay Area tonight. Some information comes out. Durant out, Thompson in for this pivotal game. But let's talk a little bit of hot topics before we get to some NBA action. How about last night? Play Gloria, one win away, Teddy, from a Stanley Cup championship, the first in the history of the St. Louis Blues. They take down the Bruins 2-1 on Thursday night. The Blues plus 140 in this game, jumped out 2-0. Some questionable calls down the stretch in this one. But the Blues hang on for a 2-1 win. And how about this, Teddy? As we always bring it back to gambling radio on the show. St. Louis native Scott Berry holding a 250-1 ticket. Who could have hedged? Who could have sold? Said, you know what? I'm going to ride this out. He's looking pretty good right now, Teddy.
Sure, and again, the fans who buy the tickets are the guys who are going to buy, big 250-1 tickets on their teams, and they're going to hold the ticket. Good for you, man. And it's a heck of a payday when you talk about 250-1. I've talked to a couple of sportsbook directors in town here in Vegas. They're not excited about the Blues taking the series lead at all in terms of future book liability. There's a fair bit on St. Louis, but the big story last night is the refs. And again, we bitch about the refs in the NBA over and over. We bitch about the refs in the NHL, in the NFL over and over. And refs decided who won the Super Bowl this year, or, who went to the Super Bowl in the NFC and all of that. Well, now we have hockey's controversies taking center stage. We had the Night Sharks Game 7. We had that Sharks-Blues game. And now this, where without a shadow of a doubt, a ref's call/non-call affected the outcome of a Stanley Cup final game. And clearly frustrating if you're a Bruins fan or better, given that result.
Yep. Oh, no. Where have we heard that before, right? I mean, each sport seems to have the biggest stage they can possibly get and seems some of these errors there. If we take a look at Teddy, Game 6 set for Sunday night in St. Louis. The Blues are favored minus 120. How about these line flips right here? Series prices, Teddy, minus 295 for the Blues now. The Bruins plus 240. I don't think the Bruins are quite out of this one yet. And me being a sports fan, Teddy, not a huge hockey guy, it's always fun to see elimination games. We'll get one in Game 6 and maybe even a Game 7 out of the series. No triple crown shot at the Belmont, Teddy. But you know what the best part about betting the Belmont is and how you can support SportsbookReview.com? Go to Bovada, sign up for an account. A 50% bonus is going to be given to new people who sign up on the site, up to $250 just by using the code BOVBSS20. Teddy, helping out a good cause here for us at SportsbookReview.com, but also putting some money in your pocket and betting those horses tomorrow.
Well, that's the whole story. Look, the show is free. The show is always going to be free, and we ask you to support our sponsors. That's the way you can help us and help them. Here, Bovada's giving us a bunch of free money, up to $250 for nothing to bet the Belmont. Please take advantage of the offer. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Yep, People get mad, Teddy, at boxing going pay-per-view. We're never going pay-per-view right here on That Betting Show with SBRodds.com. Keep it right here. Let's talk a little bit of horse racing here. As we said, no Triple Crown shot here, but we can get a 2 of 3 in the second and third legs of the Triple Crown. War of Will is the favorite at 2-1. And looking to make it back-to-back wins. The post time, Teddy, tomorrow, 6:48 p.m. Eastern. What can we look forward to here in this race?
Well, I mean, it's War of Will. The other guy that everyone's talking about is Tacitus. The War of Will and Tacitus, the two favorites, both 9-5/2-1. And they both got draws on the outside, the number 10 and the number 9 post positions. It sure looks like the talk about it is that it's going to be a 2-horse race. And, Tacitus hasn't raced since he got elevated into third place in the Derby. He's going to be fresher than War of Will. But frankly, War of Will looked pretty class-like. And he's not a horse I'm in any rush to step against. Again, if it's going to be the chalk, the 1-2 exacta is not going to pay you a whole lot, but maybe there's a long shot in the group that you like. I didn't see a whole lot that I did.
Yeah, it should be interesting to watch tomorrow. And as you know, with SportsbookReview.com, we have many videos that are out on these subjects and topics, so always support the channel. Check it out. Some really good content. As always designed to put that money in your back pocket. Let's talk a little bit of baseball here. Should some recency bias, as we like to say, on the mound, Teddy, have a future with adding pitching changes? We'll take a look at those Atlanta Braves dropping a series to Pittsburgh. You hear the cries, go get Keuchel. Well, they actually did go out and get Dallas Keuchel. A little bit too in the past couple weeks, Teddy. Some of these guys have really struggled. You're leaning on really young pitchers. They go out there and they get the lefty veteran that they needed, sitting 2 back of the Philadelphia Phillies. And as we like to say, Teddy, how does this equate to the future? If we take a look at odds right now for posting to win the division, the Braves, 2 games back to the Phillies, looks like it's plus 175 in that range, and the Phillies favored by minus 118. Just because we saw this. Now, again, he's not going to be ready, Dallas Keuchel, for at least a couple weeks. If you're a gambler out there, Teddy, or your perspective, is this say, hey, look, I'm getting some value now in the Braves, or just said, hey, I'm going to take that look-see approach because we don't have a huge track record of guys being signed late and just dominating the rest of the season?
Sure. I mean, it has happened. And certainly when you see like the midseason trades, sometimes you see a guy come in and he's just focused. And Keuchel has that potential. We're talking about a former Cy Young winner back in 2015. Last year got off to a really rough start and then pitched very, very well down the stretch. Ton of postseason experience, which means a lot for a team like Atlanta. And look, when you got Soroka and Fried and Gausman and Fulton-Awich, all young starters, makes a lot of sense to bring in the vet. Of course, for Keuchel, who turned down, a $17.9 million deal? Well, he's going to make prorated a little bit more than $13 million for the rest of the season. So he didn't work all year, but he's not getting paid either. Craig Kimbrel got signed for Chicago yesterday. He'll be a Cub the rest of the way. And boy, they gave him a bunch of money to be their closer.
Yep, how about that? The two big free agents finally off the market because there's no more, giving up first-round draft picks or handing over compensation to do that. The one thing I do like is even if you add Kimbrel to the Cubs or if you add Keuchel to the Braves, look, baseball, there's not a salary cap. So it's only money for the owners to go out there and spend. You're not ruining your payroll. You're not damaging it there. It's a look-see approach. I like both of the moves by each team. Even if they don't work out, it's worth taking a shot on, Teddy. NFL talk. Yes, that's right. Here in the middle month of June. We got a little bit of a ways to go, 90, 89 days until opening day in the NFL. We're going to talk a little bit of football, the season preview today on that betting show, those Pittsburgh Steelers. How about this, Teddy? We previewed the Cleveland Browns, and yes, the Cleveland Browns have better odds to win the Super Bowl than the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are 21 to win the 2019 championship, 10 to 1, Teddy, to win the AFC, and their team total is at 9. Yesterday, we previewed those Cleveland Browns hanging around 9.5. If we take a look, the Steelers finished 9-6-1 on the season, going 4-1-1 in the AFC North. And as we know, a lot of headaches, but a lot of talent left the team here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Teddy. Antonio Brown going out to the Raiders, Le'Veon Bell moving on to the New York Jets. JuJu Smith-Schuster, look, he's a really good wide receiver, but the question you have is, boy, it's easy to get open, Teddy, or should I say a lot easier to get open when you have an all-pro, one of the game's best wide receivers on one side, sort of deflecting some of the attention to the other. But he still had close to 1,400 yards receiving last year. Grabbing Devin Bush, like the move out of Michigan. We know the Steelers are built on that 3-4 defense. Fast and aggressive linebackers, good pass rush. Last year, a little bit fell off in the secondary, but overall, Teddy, not too bad. Number 6 overall in defense and giving up yards in the NFL. Interesting season here. No headaches. Let's see how the Pittsburgh Steelers do in 2019.
Well, no headaches that we know of going into the campaign. We're going to find out how much of this is Roethlisberger, all the issues in Pittsburgh's locker room. And some of the impressions that I've gotten is that Big Ben isn't always the easiest teammate to be friends with. Last year, Pittsburgh, again, despite all the turmoil and all the issues, they still outgained their opponents by 0.8 yards per play, that top 5 in the NFL. They weren't a great rushing team last year. 0.0 yards per rush versus their opponent means they allowed exactly what they gained without Le'Veon Bell. That's probably what you expect. James Conner filled in decently. And we talk about running backs. They tend to be somewhat interchangeable despite the money Le'Veon Bell got from the Jets. Roethlisberger, QB rating last year, 96.5. That's okay. Opposing QBs had a 95 QB rating, so it wasn't like Pittsburgh got this incredible quarterback play a year ago, and they were minus 11 in turnovers, which is something the markets like. They say with this veteran quarterback and a better defense this year, Pittsburgh should turn that turnover margin around after that 11 TOs, negative 11 TOs last year. Last year, they faced a tougher than average schedule. Not way tougher, but definitely tougher than average. This year, on paper, based on this year's season win totals, they face a slightly below average strength of schedule. So these are certainly positives for Pittsburgh in that regard. You talk about the losses. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, big names, replaceable names. Marcus Gilbert, they lose him. They lose Morgan Burnett, the tight end Jesse James. These are not players that they cannot replace. So, when you look at Pittsburgh right now from a power rating standpoint, they don't look a whole lot different than they did at the end of last year, even with the departed superstars. Yeah, Pittsburgh should contend in this division, but you asked me to grade out the personnel. As I said on yesterday's show, I am bullish on the Browns. I think the Browns have the most talent in the division, and the Steelers, to me, look like a team that'll finish right around their win total. They're a 9-win type team.
Got you, Teddy. So if we're taking a look at next year's take a look at that AFC North division. If you had to make a chance right now, we're filming a video. Who's going to win that division, Teddy?
Cleveland, not close.
There you go.
Cleveland.
Hey, straight from the
my
Lions' mouth right there. I like it. So, yeah, look, I like the talent that the Cleveland Browns pros. I just want to see it out there on the field. I like the way they closed last year. It should be interesting and fun. And we'll continue this path, Teddy, towards NFL's opening day, and we'll preview a new team each and every day until we finish. Then we'll jump on a little bit of college football. Let's get to some overnight line movers here on the show, SBRodds.com, the best place on the internet to get those line movements, which are happening all the time. Bounce back in Atlanta, or bounce back, should I say, for Atlanta tonight as they head down to Miami. Miami's been playing some pretty good baseball. We saw Dallas Keuchel get signed. Obviously, it's not, hey, they signed Keuchel. They're going to be really excited to play tonight. Not really how the pro game works, but they do have a pretty good pitcher on the mound there with Soroka. Uranian Soroka down in that huge ballpark, Teddy. Marlins catching a plus 160 with a total of 7.5.
Yeah, the early money for Atlanta. Why is it money for Atlanta? Well, it had nothing to do with current form. The Marlins 13-6 their last 19 games. They made a small fortune for their backers during that span. Don Mattingly, even after they lost the series finale in Milwaukee on Thursday, if you look at the big picture, we're playing pretty well. We had a good road trip at 4-2. Braves just 3-5 in their last 8. They just lost back-to-backs to Pittsburgh. Didn't play well in either of those ball games, but the markets don't care. What do they care about? Starting pitching. Mike Soroka has been a monster. He's just 21 years old. He got a funky delivery, and he's won each of his last 6 decisions. In fact, he hasn't lost since April 18th. 0.79 ERA in May. Former first-round draft choice, and the markets love this guy, whereas Urena, well, he's got a little bit of a history against Atlanta. Remember, he got tossed for hitting Acuna with a fastball last year, and it's carried over to this season. Atlanta slapped him around the first time they saw him this year. The markets expect more of the same in the rematch today.
That's a pretty good point there, Teddy. I do want to keep an eye on that to see if there's any lingering effects. Usually they put that to bed, but you never know. In a game that might, 3 or 4 run stretch and, there's 2 outs in the inning and you just want to take a shot at the pitcher. We'll see if that takes place tonight. Woodruff treated like an ace. Now, here's an interesting number because they're playing the Pittsburgh Pirates. Last time Woodruff took the mound in his last start versus the Pirates, 6 earned runs. But that's not stopping lines makers from posting a minus 250. It's even rising higher as we check SBRodds.com. A total of 9.5 tonight. Davis versus Woodruff. And keep in mind, Teddy, Rookie Davis is this guy's name. Ooh, oh, boy.
Yeah, exactly, which makes it bad when he's a second-year player. But, I mean, Woodruff, this bad start against the Pirates last time wasn't his only bad start against Pittsburgh. He's got an 8.31 ERA in 4 appearances, 2 starts against the Pirates in his career. But this money for Milwaukee is all about Rookie Davis. The markets do not like the Pirates spot starter in this ballgame. He's a guy that previously pitched for Cincinnati, wasn't pretty back in 2017. Frankly, he wasn't that good at AAA Indy this year. He signed as a minor league free agent in February. First start of the season, and the markets say he is a bet against hurler. That's why the money is coming from Milwaukee.
How about Kansas City seeing a little bit of movement in their direction, Teddy, opening up around minus 110, sitting at minus 122 at SBRodds.com. And I always get a kick out of this because usually when the average gambler sees Homer Bailey, you run for the hills and bet the opposite way. But Ivan Nova's been known, hey, look, he's not a power pitcher. He's not going to strike out a ton of guys. He's going to put the ball over the plate. So maybe we'll see some runs tonight as the total is set at 9.5. Royals minus 122, Nova versus Bailey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised by this move. I am. But Bailey was better earlier in the season. His last 4 starts, he's been awful. Awful. He hasn't made it out of the 5th in any of them, and KC lost those 4 games by a combined score of 34-7. And Nova, who was awful early, and who, without a doubt, the wise guy's been betting against Nova every start. They're 5-2 in his last 7. He's allowed more than 3 runs only once during that span. So this knee-jerk bet against Nova, it's coming again. I ain't laying a price with Homer Bailey. Are you?
Yeah, not really interested too much in Homer Bailey, but you're right. He did have a couple good starts there. We say, well, maybe he's turning that corner, even though he is a veteran with a big contract. But every time I see that name out there, I just get a little bit of a chuckle, similar to yesterday. Edwin Jackson was on the mound for Toronto. I'm scratching my head going, yeah, I don't think I really want to get into bed with that type of situation. Watch what you bet here, Teddy. Big night tonight. And I'm excited. We don't have that long left. We don't have 4 days between games. Let's get right back out on the court today. Game 4 in the Bay Area with big consequences. The Warriors, Teddy, as we saw as high as 5.5 yesterday, now dipping to around minus 4.5 total of 215 money line split plus 169 minus 199. 9 p.m. tonight on ABC. As we know, Durant out, Klay Thompson in. But the question here, Teddy, what Klay Thompson are we getting tonight?
Well, so there's so many things to talk about for tonight's game. I want to start with series price. which was basically a pick 'em after Game 3, and now we're seeing the Raptors taking the wise guy money like they have all series, and Toronto now the favorite to win the NBA Finals, which makes sense. They're up 2-1, and they have 2 more games at home if the series were to go to 7. When we look at what happened in Game 3, all right, we saw a Warriors team playing a bunch of guys who haven't been on the floor together. Okay, they started Livingston, Curry, Cousins, Iguodala, and Green. Those three, that quintet had a combined total of 16 regular season minutes and 1 minute in the postseason together. It showed. Then you see Jordan Bell getting major minutes, and Alfonso McKinney getting major minutes, and Jonas Jerebko getting major minutes, and Andrew Bogut coming back from the dead and getting major minutes. That's not Golden State. It's saying Golden State on the uniform, but the team on the floor is not. They look like last year's Cavs. They look like a team that is banged up and playing on, Curry couldn't play any better. Well, he had a couple of bricks, but Curry played pretty darn well. And now they're saying, Thompson's going to be back. If he couldn't go Wednesday and was fighting for Friday, can he get the job done here? But for as much as I'm worried about Golden State, tonight's game in my mind is everything to do with the Toronto Raptors. Okay. Does Toronto have the go for the jugular mentality? Do they have the, we've got this team on the ropes, let's kill them right here? Because the Raptors win tonight, they win this series. Is that mentality in them? We don't know. We haven't seen it. They haven't been in this spot. Maybe. But if they exhale off a Game 3 win collectively, we can expect Golden State to bring something tonight, especially with Thompson on the floor. And, of course, the Raptors did something the other night that nobody does. The third team in NBA Finals history, the history of the Finals, to shoot 50% from the floor, 40% from three-point range, and 90% from the free throw line. Even if they play a great game, they're not going to match those numbers. Is that going to be enough? I'm not in a rush to lay with Golden State here. Are you?
Teddy, conspiracy theories, put mine to rest here, right? So we had the embarrassment of Golden State blowing a 3-1 lead. Are they purposely trying to get down 3-1 to make that comeback, Teddy? Put this theory to sleep for me, please.
No, I don't believe so. If they had a choice, they would rather not be down 3-1 and have to win 3 in a row, including 2 of them in Toronto. That being said, we look at the referee assignments tonight, and there is a notable homer ref on the slate for Game 4. A ref who is where the home teams have done very, very well when he's been calling fouls.
There you go. A little outside angle from Teddy Covers right there. Let's keep it moving in baseball here. How about this key AL series tonight? Rays and the Red Sox. And we were punching up the script a little bit earlier today, checking out SBR odds, Teddy. Did have that line around 135, 140. It's crashed down there. We're sitting the Red Sox favorite about 116 to 114, depending on where you're shopping at. A total of 7-10 tonight, live from Fenway in Boston. Rays come into this game 37-23. Those Red Sox, Teddy, 33-29. Chirinos versus Porcello.
Yeah, money for Tampa. I believe it has to do with J.D. Martinez. J.D. Martinez left yesterday with back spasms for Boston. It doesn't look like he's going to go. The quote from Alex Cora. Hopefully it's nothing and he'll be able to play for the weekend, but it's probably going to be a tough flight for him on the way home. And, of course, there's a doubleheader tomorrow, and Boston just had a bullpen game yesterday. So Porcello's got to go, 6-7 deep. And he had gone at least 6 innings in 7 straight games. He got bombed in his last outing against the Yankees. This is a Red Sox team that has done well when stepping down in class. They have not done nearly as well when stepping up in class. Now, the Rays, just a game and a half out of the Yankees. They kind of had a rough week, but bounced back with a couple of wins against the Tigers. Kevin Cash, manager, quote, "We feel a heck of a lot better after having 2 wins for sure." And they got Tommy Pham back after he missed 5 games with a calf injury. He's an impact player for that Rays lineup.
Snakes on a plane, Teddy. Well, you do have to take a plane to get to Toronto here. So the Diamondbacks are going to head north to Toronto today. Blue Jays favored by about -127 and the total of 8.5. The interesting part here, Diamondbacks 31-32 on the season. The Blue Jays 23-39. Merrill Kelly, who I actually bet against with my kryptonite team, the Mets, and he shut them down easily. We'll see if he could try to do the same on the road here in an American League ballpark. Going to be Kelly versus Stroman tonight.
Yeah, and 2 teams that are not in particularly good form, Arizona's lost 12 of their last 18. Although they had Thursday off and they had a walk-off on Wednesday they needed. manager Torey Lovello after the game. I think everyone that's sitting here that's a fan of the Diamondbacks understands how important that game was for us, especially since we've been walking through some very lean times. We've been battling through some injuries. We sent a crew out there today that gave everything they had and did enough to win a baseball game. It was a tremendous way to finish it, and it's one of those games like you feel like will push you in a very, very positive direction. That may be manager talk, but it's a really good quote. That's a bet on quote. The Jays came away just coming off their first series win since April. Okay, taking 2 out of 3 against the Yanks, but of course, they had a chance to sweep. Didn't get the job done. They lost yesterday. Although, Charlie Montoyo's quote, overall, the last 3 days, we looked a lot better at the plate. They had to go to their closer Thursday. We took 2 out of 3. It was a good series. But, of course, it's a Jays team that's been every bit as bad as Arizona, if not worse. 9-25 in their last 34, 3-11 their last 14, even with Stroman on the hill. I ain't laying a price with Toronto.
Teddy, we're going to head a little bit of off the mic section. You might think Vince McMahon and the WWE are starting to write some of these, episodes, to say the least, for the NBA. NBA entertainment off the court, just as exciting. Owners, super fans taking over the finals. Let's start with 3 things already going on, Teddy. Minority owner fined after Kyle Lowry jumps into the crowd to save a ball, $500,000, a 1-year ban. Then also we have the majority owner, I believe it's Jacob Lacob. His wife sits courtside, leans over Beyonce to talk to Jay-Z. And now she has to shut down her media because she's getting death threats out here. Drake also cheerleading, giving the shoulder massages. The NBA action, Teddy, as used to say in the 80s and 90s, it's fantastic.
Well, and of course the seats are right there. The seats aren't as close in MLB or in NFL or in NHL as they are in the NBA. That's why the players go flying into the stands, and that's why you see crazy stuff like the one of the Warriors investors. They're going to call him an owner. Lacob's the owner. One of the investors. Look, you saw it happen and you're watching a replay and he, pushed him away. He had a moment. You can't do that. I understand you can't do that. He understands you can't do that. He paid a pretty big price. When you talk about a $500,000 fine and, you can't be involved in any team facilities for a year. That's an appropriate price. And to me, that's done. Done. Hey, maybe it's a lesson learned. Don't be pushing the players away. As for the other stuff, the Beyonce stuff, the Drake stuff, this is good for the NBA. It drives ratings, and it gets younger fans and viewers involved when you talk about the celebrity stuff. So, okay, in my mind, a lot of it's fluff, but some of it's going to affect the on-court action. That's what we try to pay attention to right here on That Betting Show.
Exactly. Big week. We just finished up here, Teddy. A lot going on over the weekend. As we said, NHL is going to take place. The NBA Finals. You have horse racing out here. What a time to be alive. Thank you for tuning into That Betting Show for June 7th, 2019. Your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. Once again, he's Teddy Safransky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour, right side VP. Enjoy your weekend. And Teddy will be back with me on Monday as we go over all the carnage over the weekend. Good luck. Enjoy.